Imagine waking up one day and realizing you've been speaking a language no one else understands. Not in words, no. Your sentences are clear, your tone measured, but in the way you see things. The way a fleeting glance from a stranger carries an entire story. The way a crowded room doesn't just buzz with noise but vibrates with unspoken sorrows, hidden tensions, silent cries for connection. You absorb it all, like a sponge left in the ocean, growing heavier with each wave. And then you speak carefully, because you know how easily words can wound, only to be met with blank stares. How did you notice that? Why do you care so much? You're overthinking it. This is the INFJ's first great paradox. You exist in a world that runs on a frequency most cannot hear. The unshakable feeling of being an outsider. You've always known, haven't you? Even as a child, you watched your peers with quiet curiosity, wondering why their games felt trivial, why their laughter didn't quite reach their eyes. You were the observer, the one who sat at the edge of the playground, piecing together the hidden rules of human behavior, while others simply played by them. This isn't loneliness, not exactly. It's something deeper, more unsettling. The eerie certainty that you perceive a layer of reality others ignore. You don't just hear words, you hear the spaces between them. You don't just see actions, you see the why behind them. The invisible threads of fear, desire, and longing that pull people like marionettes. And yet, when you try to explain, you're met with confusion. How could you possibly know that? They ask. But for you, it's as obvious as breathing, the emotional X-ray vision. Picture this. A friend texts you a single sentence. No emojis, no obvious distress. But something in the cadence, the slight delay between messages, the way they avoided a particular word, it sends a jolt through your nervous system. Something's wrong. You call them. They hesitate. "I'm fine," they say, but their voice fractures on the second word. And then it spills out. The grief they've been hiding, the breakup they didn't mention, the shame they've been swallowing like broken glass. This is your curse and your gift. You don't just listen, you dissect. Tone, tempo, micro-expressions. They form a language written in lightning, and you are the only one who can read it. But here's the cruel twist. The more you understand, the heavier it becomes. You absorb their pain like a second skin. Their tears stain your soul. And when you offer comfort, precise, wordless, as if you've known their heart for lifetimes, they whisper, "How did you know exactly what I needed?" You don't have an answer, because for you, it was never a question. The chameleon effect. You walk into a party. The air is thick with laughter, but your spine stiffens. Too many voices. Too many unshielded emotions. And yet, within minutes, you're adapting. Your posture shifts. Your laughter matches theirs. You mirror the energy of the person in front of you, reflecting their warmth, their humor, their hesitations. It's not deception. It's survival. INFJs are human tuning forks, vibrating at whatever frequency the room demands. You can blend in effortlessly, but at what cost? Every performance drains you. Every suppressed thought carves a deeper hollow in your chest. And when you finally escape to the solitude of your car, your home, your thoughts, the mask cracks. Who were you tonight? The life of the party? The therapist? The ghost? The scariest part? You're not even sure anymore. The obsession with meaning. Small talk is your personal hell. How's the weather? What do you do for work? Each empty phrase is a needle under your skin. You crave conversations that crack open the universe, the meaning of suffering, the nature of time, the silent tragedies of ordinary lives. You've been called too intense, too deep. But how do you explain that surface-level chatter feels like suffocation? That every casual interaction is a missed opportunity to really see someone? So you sit in silence, aching for the day someone will look you in the eye and ask, "What keeps you up at night?" And actually want to know the answer. You stand at the edge of a mirror, staring into a reflection that flickers between clarity and distortion. One moment you see yourself, sharp, certain, alive with conviction. The next, the glass warps, and the face staring back is a stranger, fragmented, shifting like smoke. This is the INFJ's labyrinth, a mind built on contradictions so profound they could tear a weaker psyche apart. The prophet's burden. You've always known things, not in the way of logic or deduction, but in flashes, visions that arrive unbidden, fully formed, like lightning splitting the sky. A friend mentions a new relationship and your stomach drops. This won't last. A coworker boasts about a risky venture and your pulse quickens. Disaster is coming. Sometimes you speak up, gently, cautiously. And when your predictions come true, they call it intuition. But it doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like a curse. Because foresight without the power to change the outcome is a special kind of torture. The ancient Greeks believed prophets were chosen by the gods. They never mentioned the isolation of seeing fate unfold and being helpless to stop it. The empathy paradox. You walk past a homeless man on the street, and for a moment, you are him. The weight of his exhaustion presses into your bones. The sting of indifference from passers-by burns like acid. You don't just feel for him, you feel with him, as if your nervous systems are wired together. This is your superpower, the ability to dissolve the boundaries between self and other. But here's the catch. The more you feel, the less you can stop feeling. You've spent nights awake, haunted by the suffering of people you've never met. Wars in distant countries, tragedies in news headlines, the quiet despair of a cashier who forced a smile. It floods you, drowns you, until you have to shut down just to breathe. And then the guilt comes. How dare you turn away? How dare you protect yourself when others can't? The paradox is merciless. To survive, you must numb yourself. But to numb yourself is to betray your very nature. The dark night of the soul. There are nights when the weight of the world becomes unbearable. When the sheer wrongness of existence, the cruelty, the injustice, the wasted potential, crushes you like a physical force. You lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if you're the only one who sees the cracks in the facade. This is the INFJ's dark night, a crisis of meaning so profound it borders on spiritual agony. You question everything. Why are we here? Does anything matter? Am I just a ghost screaming into the void? Most people distract themselves. They turn on the TV, lose themselves in routine, laugh off the big questions. But you? You lean in. You dissect the pain like a surgeon, searching for answers in the wound itself. And then, just when the darkness threatens to swallow you whole, you find it, a single, unshakable truth. You keep going. Not because you've found the answers, but because the questions themselves are sacred. The toxic altruism. Trap. You've been called selfless, a giver, a light in the darkness, and you hate it. Because you know the truth. Your kindness is not pure. It's a compulsion, a desperate attempt to stitch the world's wounds before they infect you too. You give until you're empty, then hate yourself for resenting the very people you've helped. You've spent years playing therapist to friends who never ask how you are. You've swallowed your own needs to keep the peace in relationships. You've smiled through betrayals because they didn't mean it. But here's the ugly secret no one tells you. Martyrdom is not enlightenment. It's slow suicide. One day, you'll snap. You'll cut someone off without explanation, vanish from a social circle overnight, unleash a lifetime of suppressed rage in a single icy sentence, and they'll be shocked. But you're so kind, so patient. They never realized. Even saints have breaking points. The haunting sense of purpose. Despite it all, the exhaustion, the isolation, the moments of despair, you can't shake the feeling that you're here for a reason. Not in a grandiose way. You don't expect to change the world single-handedly. But you sense, deep in your bones, that your existence matters. That your insights, your compassion, your relentless search for truth, they're not accidents. Maybe it's delusion. Maybe it's hubris. Or maybe it's the INFJ's greatest survival mechanism, the ability to stare into the abyss and still believe in light. You meet someone. Not just anyone, the one. The kind of person who makes your chest tighten when they laugh, whose thoughts spill into yours like ink in water, who looks at you and sees you, really sees you, in a way no one ever has before. And it terrifies you, because you know how this ends. The soulmate mirage. INFJs don't fall in love, they drown in it. One conversation, one shared glance, and suddenly you're crafting entire futures in your mind. You imagine the way their voice will sound in the morning, the books they'll read together, the quiet understanding that won't need words. But here's the cruel irony. The more deeply you connect, the faster you sabotage it. You test them. Unconsciously, relentlessly. You withdraw without warning, just to see if they'll chase you. You drop cryptic hints about your darkness, praying they'll prove you wrong, that they'll stay anyway. And when they fail, because no human could pass every invisible test, you nod to yourself. I knew it. The truth? You don't fear abandonment. You fear confirmation. That no one could ever love the real you, because the real you is too much and not enough, all at once. The emotional vampire phenomenon. Wounded souls find you. Like moths to a flame, like blood in the water, they're drawn to your quiet strength, your bottomless patience, your ability to make them feel understood for the first time in their lives. You don't mind at first. You want to help. But slowly you notice the pattern. The friend who only calls when they're in crisis. The partner who treats you like a therapist, not a lover. The colleague who drains you with every lunchtime vent session. You give and give until you're a husk, until resentment coils around your throat like a noose. And when you finally set boundaries, they recoil. You've changed. Of course you have. You were never their savior. You were their battery. The love-hate relationship with vulnerability. You crave intimacy like oxygen. But the moment someone gets too close, your body screams, danger. You'll share your deepest philosophies, your wildest dreams, your most controversial opinions. But try to ask you about your childhood, your insecurities, your quiet shames, and the walls slam down. It's not that you don't want to open up. It's that to an INFJ, vulnerability isn't just exposure. It's handing someone a loaded gun and praying they don't shoot. So you ration your truth like wartime supplies, a crumb here, a fragment there, never enough to truly destroy you if they walk away. And when they do walk away, they always do, you tell yourself, this is why I don't let people in. The fatal attraction to potential. You don't fall for who people are. You fall for who they could be. The artist who's given up on their dreams, you see the brilliance they've buried. The cynic who swears they'll never trust again. You glimpse the wounded idealist beneath. The broken, the lost, the almost great. They're your kryptonite. You'll spend years pouring love into someone, waiting for them to wake up, to become the person you know they could be. But here's the tragedy. People aren't projects, and love isn't redemption. One day you'll look at them and realize they never wanted to change. They just wanted you to keep believing they would. The catastrophic breakup cycle. When INFJs leave, it's never impulsive. It's a slow, silent erosion, 1,000 unmet needs, 100 swallowed disappointments, a lifetime of giving more than you received. You'll endure years of neglect, betrayal, even abuse, not because you're weak, but because your hope is pathological. Maybe this time, maybe if I love them harder. But once that final switch flips, there's no going back. You won't scream. You won't beg. You'll simply disappear. Cold, precise, surgical in your detachment. They'll call you heartless. They'll say you never cared. If only they knew. No one mourns deeper than an INFJ who's finally given up. The impossible longing. At the end of the day, what you want is impossible. Someone who sees your darkness and doesn't flinch. Someone who craves depth as much as you do. Someone who understands that love isn't just passion. It's witnessing. You'll spend your life chasing this ghost, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find it. But even if you don't, you'll keep searching. Because for all your cynicism, for all your heartbreak, you still believe. And that's the most INFJ thing of all.